Welcome back. Tonight, we're going to follow a message across an ocean. Not through satellites, not through the sky, through glass threads on the sea floor. We're talking undersea cables. It's a pretty wild number, but something like 99% of all international internet data travels this way. So think about it. Your Netflix stream, those messages you send, the cloud apps we all use for work, even your international payments, pretty much all of it depends on this giant hidden network of physical cables just sitting on the ocean floor. So here's the part that I think most of us miss. The internet isn't just, the cloud. It's a very real, very physical network of networks. And for your data to get from, say, New York to London, it has to have a physical link. It gets chopped up into these tiny packets, and these cables, they're the superhighways that carry them across the ocean. And this whole idea, it's not new at all. It actually goes way back to the 1850s with the first underwater telegraph cables. I mean, it took a few tries. The first reliable one was in 1866, but it proved you could literally wire continents together. But the real game changer, the thing that made today's internet possible, was in the 1980s when fiber optics came along. That's when we got the massive capacity that our entire global economy runs on. Okay, so this is where it gets really practical. What is a modern undersea cable, really? And how in the world does it move all that data so incredibly fast? Well, at its heart, it's a fiber-optic system. It's built to do one job and do it incredibly well. Carry huge amounts of data as tiny pulses of light through these super, super pure glass fibers that connect one coast to another. And that glass core is unbelievably fragile. I mean, we're talking about fibers as thin as a single human hair. So protecting it is a serious feat of engineering. You've got layers of stuff, a water-blocking gel, then steel wires for strength, a copper sheath, and then, for the areas close to shore where it's most dangerous, there's this heavy-duty outer armor. But here's the thing. Even through the purest glass you can imagine, that little pulse of light starts to fade over thousands of kilometers, right? It's just like a flashlight beam getting dimmer and dimmer the further away it gets. And obviously, a faded signal is a useless signal. So what do? Well, every 50 to 80 kilometers or so along the route, the cable has these sealed devices called repeaters. They're basically optical amplifiers. The weak signal comes in, the repeater boosts it back up to full strength, and then sends it on its way for the next stretch. Okay, but that brings up a really obvious question, doesn't it? How are you powering these things? You're in the middle of the ocean, thousands of feet down. It's not like there are power outlets on the seafloor. It's actually a pretty genius solution. The power comes all the way from the shore. A high-voltage DC current is sent right through that copper sheath we mentioned earlier, the one inside the cable, and that powers every single one of those repeaters along the whole route. Super efficient. So once that boosted light signal finally hits the coast, it arrives at a landing station. And that's the building that connects the beach to the cloud, handing off all that traffic to the regular inland fiber network that takes it to data centers. And this is where things get interesting because it points to a major vulnerability. You'd think the deep, dark ocean would be the most dangerous place, right? But actually, it's pretty quiet down there. The real danger zone is close to the coast where all the action is. Yeah, the biggest threats aren't, spies with submarines or some kind of sea monster. Nope. About 70% of all cable breaks are caused by really normal, everyday things. Ship anchors dropping and dragging, or fishing gear getting snagged on the seabed in shallow water. So the key takeaway here is that most cable faults are just accidents. They're tied to normal maritime activity. It's a pretty stark reminder that our super abstract digital world is completely dependent on the very physical, very real world of big ships and fishing boats. Okay, so what actually happens when a cable gets cut? Well, for the network operators, alarms start blaring and the system automatically reroutes all that internet traffic onto other cables. It's pretty seamless. But for you and me, we might actually feel it. You might notice some lag or that video starts buffering. Basically, you get slower speeds because all that data is now trying to cram onto the remaining routes. It's like a digital traffic jam, which leads us to the repair process. And believe me, fixing one of these things is an incredible feat of engineering that really hammers home how physical this all is. Okay, so first, the operators on shore figure out roughly where the break is. Then, a special repair ship heads out. To actually find the cable, they use something called a grapnel. Think of it as a super high-tech grappling hook to grab the cable and haul it up to the surface. On the ship's deck, technicians cut out the broken part. Then, Inside a super clean room right on the ship, they have to splice in a new section, fusing each tiny glass fiber together with incredible precision. After that, they seal it, test it, and carefully lay it back down on the seabed. And none of this happens fast. The whole thing can take days, or even weeks. It all depends on a ton of factors. How quickly a repair ship can even get there, what the weather and the seas are like, how deep the water is, and sometimes you even have to wait for permits to work in a country's territory. So when you put it all together, the incredible engineering, the constant dangers, these delicate repairs happening out at sea, it all brings you back to this one simple but really powerful idea. The cloud isn't really in the sky. It's not this abstract, weightless thing. It is incredibly physical. It's this quiet, vital infrastructure resting in the dark, cold silence of the ocean floor. It's down there, being maintained all the time, right up until an ordinary anchor accidentally drops and reminds us all just how real and how fragile it really is. If you liked this video, drop a comment with what topic you want next, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you want the longer, deeper version, there's a full audio podcast episode on this topic. Check the description or our channel page to listen.